Kills enough, kills enough.
Point caps?
Yeah, okay. Don't give him. I will take also nice. Can I take okay. Oh shit. Maybe early, but no, it's fine. Look, no flash, no flash.
Don't go too deep.
I will knock him out now. Come to me.
Don't want to see the flip. Run out soon. He gets the TP, and they got what they want.
Over the wall! Caught unawares!
Guys, together, bot. We can. Yeah, guys, chill out. It's all in our. It is GG. Let's focus on next, guys. Okay?
I'm here for Nar.
Winning game 1 is a trap, we told you. G2 bites back in game 2 and does exactly what Jat and I think the entire European population wanted them to do. Did they cook?
They did. They cooked with the Yasuo top, and they had a great Sylas angle. But I'll also say the credit has to go to G2 because the advice of cook and draft is about as quality as play better and be aggressive. You have to actually do it, and that's the hard and impressive part from G2.
Yeah, but we said it right very early on. What a tremendous Sylas angle.
Yeah. It really doesn't get better. Legitimately, just off the first rotation, and I even ended up getting a Renata ult as well, like just into Gnar, that's good. Add a Xin Zhao and a Nico on top of that, and I think that immediately you could see as well BLG looking at that pick and probably going like, oh god. And normally we see Sylas locked in later. I can even imagine that they would have thrown a ban towards it, and it made such a difference to give Caps this much agency, and it meant that basically every single ult set up BB as well, who I think had an incredible game.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the big thing for me is that not only does he have fantastic ultimates to steal from almost every member of BLG, but then 3 of them set up for this Yasuo, which we were talking about how important BB is and his success is to the way that G2 plays. This is a signature pick for him. We've seen him be successful on it before, and he had so much setup coming into team fights.
Yeah, it's nice to see also, as Jat was calling out, that they had played previously the Nocturne Orianna 4 times in a row, right? You break that up, you also now kind of establish, hey, Yike is quite proficient on Skarner, as we're going to see later as well, so it changes the dynamic of the series a lot.
It really does, and I think the other thing that G2 did really well in this game is they were first to the fight time and time again. That comes from having the ability to outlane your opponents. They had some really good tempo plays early in lane. One was Mikyx staying around mid lane to actually bail Caps out. And then here, once Mikyx is level 6, it's absolutely go time with the level 9 Yasuo to be first to the play.
It is Hans having a lot of impact on the Ezreal as well. Much easier to play out this game in the game state, but you're right. The fact that in the previous game they were late on every decision, here they are in front, and they also keep going. They don't let up.
It goes both ways, because I think as good as the draft was from G2, I also think that BLG probably look at this at the end of it and go like, that doesn't feel great. Like there's some parts like a 2v2 mid jungle that are okay, but I think Xayah into Ezreal is something that I'm never going to be excited about. Obviously the counter pick towards the Gnar ended up being a really big deal. So that to me is going to be the main thing both teams are going to be looking towards going into the game number 3.
A couple of things. We mentioned Yike already, but every second counts. And thanks to that reliable Cisco network, Yike stings right at the right time to take down BLG.
And I think incredibly important that he had this type of performance on the Skarner, something they did not first pick in game 1, something that they successfully first picked here in game 2. And what an incredible pull over the wall in a tense moment of the game. They had a big lead, they needed to close it out, and they decisively baited the Baron fight. And the continuation of this play was impressive as well, Emily.
Yeah, and when you talk about like, oh, what is the difference as we see Caps using that stolen Nico ult to clean up the back half of this fight, what is the difference between like a good Baron setup and a bad one? It is being cognizant of when your opponents can come in. They immediately turn, they know what they're going to do off of the Yike play, they clean up the fight with Caps' Sylas on the back half, and then they're able to get Baron immediately.
Yeah, Yike, of course, had owner steal his Baron in that last series versus T1, which, you know, that was a game they maybe would have won without that. So it's good that that is cleaned up. A question I want to pose to you, because Dylan, the coach, has been of G2, has been very vocal also on this Worlds broadcast in our cooldown about this is the way we like to play, where we can put one of our laners, especially Caps, in a side lane. We know expertly how to play that 1-3-1 or that 4-1, and that's how we like to play with pressure. Now, I have seen them get victories this way at Worlds. I don't know if I am confident at this point in time that they can get victories if that gets distorted.
Well, I mean, I think the big thing here is, again, taking Caps off of the Orianna, putting him on something where he can side lane, putting BB on something where he can equally side lane was great setup for them. And I also think this wasn't like, you look at draft, you're like, okay, BLG, this draft was not it. But in terms of their play, they weren't like as sloppy as we saw them previously at Worlds, right? So like, I actually think that when it comes to mid game and those side lanes that you just mentioned, G2 is actually better at playing the map just generally than BLG, even when BLG is full strength. It's more about how BLG are able to snowball their early game to make it so you can't spread them out on the map.
And I really want to take a moment as well, like as we are just about to head into game number 3, like how much pressure is on this? And I know that we talked about it in the previous series, but that was 2/4, or yeah, it was 2/4 seeds, right? Yeah. Or third seed for DK.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. Yeah, in terms of strengths, what does it mean if you don't make it here?
The #1 seed from the LEC, the #1 seed of the LPL, both teams completely ran their regions. One of them won't even be able to make it to quarterfinals.
Yeah, and this is massive for BLG because, again, the ceiling for this is they are the best team in the world. They went out, they got Knight for this roster for the purpose of making Worlds. This is a game you have to win to continue.
Shocks, how important is the
Yeah,
G2 win
for
here?
G2, 600+ days with this roster. Every single part of your practice, of your scrims, of your life dedicated to getting the international results that you have not gotten yet. This is the time, boys.
It certainly is. I don't think the stakes could be higher in a single best of 3.
A single game is going to
first
determine
seed.
everything.
No luxury of a lower bracket, any additional eliminations. You wasted all your
mercy.
second chances.
It's,
a best of 1. And again, an entire year of effort that could be deleted in a moment. For BLG, it was a similar story last year. They won game 1 against G2. They lost game 2. They brought it back. Question is, can G2 rewrite? Can they show us something new this year?
Well, it's a question of will it be a repeat of history from last year where BLG are able to take down G2, or will it be a change? Will G2 finally be able to return to the quarterfinals of the World Championship? As Poppy going to be banned, Jax, G2, this will be their first red side game of the World Swiss stage, and it's going to start with the Jax ban.
This could put them in a difficult position. You see the Poppy Dinar taken away. G2, Aurora, Yone, the red side must bans, but they're not taking them off the board. But they won't get their pick of the litter. They won't get to pick first. Yone usually the one that's prioritized.
Haha, BLG forced to ban the Yone away.
G2 should respond.
They have to get rid of the Aurora now. They don't have
You're in
much
an
of a
interesting
choice.
spot because then is it first pick Kalista? Is the response Ashe? We're now in a draft arms race. The entire plan from both sides.
Skarner, Kalista. I think the Skarner's going to be the first pick from BLG. It's been so effective for both junglers across the series.
I mean, we can't understate Shun single-handedly winning the map for his team in game 1. And they're going to go for it again.
So what's the response going to be from G2? What do you put in the jungle? Maybe we see a return to something like the Sejuani or the Maokai for Yike. If melee skirmishes are the name of the game for G2, maybe Sejuani is the answer. Brand has been let through a bunch. Maybe they put him back on AP junglers. He's thinking about the Xin Zhao for himself.
Willing to take the opposite side of the matchup. A champion who, if it gets ahead, can do a ton of work, but think about the Skarner and the tank junglers, they're so reliable. But Xin, a bit more explosive, a bit more volatile, still has the ultimate to keep himself safe.
Wait a minute, is this Xin top?
Calm down.
Okay, sorry. You're right.
We can't forget the fundamentals. Just
True.
because it's
Don't
game
talk
3,
about
it's super
hovers. Don't
crazy,
talk
the
about
stakes are
hovers.
insanely high.
Not
Can't lose ourselves in the chaos yet.
Yeah,
We get in the game, it's a different story. But for now, okay, Renekton.
Okay. So
Double AD topside.
they're really putting pressure on Bin's pool here. Likely leaning towards a Cassante then would be the likely direction.
With a double AD topside, if Cassante gets ahead.
Oh, Rumble is another possibility, and that's going to be locked in. So already BLG drafting some strong team fighting, leaning towards more of an MF angle. I imagine that they don't want to lock in Knight mid laner just yet. Perhaps they just go for, I was thinking support perhaps. The Rell is currently the hover for On. His most played so far at the Swiss stage.
In general, I think it's probably still the strongest blind pick support we have in the current meta. Bin's Rumble, of course, not his most played champion by any means.
I really liked Mikyx on Rakan, but the Kalista is still available, of course, and so
followed by the immediate Ash ban to ensure the lane counter is not on the table.
Yeah, and BRG have already banned the Poppy as well, so that's something they don't have to concern themselves with. The Renata, a good take away from Mikyx to deny that Kalista Renata bot lane 2 versus 2. A terrifying duo. What other AD carries are you now afraid of? Maybe the Kai'Sa is something to consider. MF, yeah, when you're drafting Rell plus Rumble, MF is the obvious answer to pair alongside that.
Don't want to give them any more combo pieces. Incredible focus on physical damage, however,
Maybe
on the
Kalista
side of...
banned from BLG now. We'd already know Mikyx for being a big Kalista player, then Nico instead. Yep. Okay, well now you imagine support is going to come through here. They want to give Caps counterpick, which makes so much sense to me. You want to make sure that he's really set up for success in this final game. Kalista is currently the hover though. Pairs nicely alongside the Kalista, but so does a Leona. Both, I think, are fine picks.
Debate, Alistar feels like the one that makes the most sense. But something new, Taric.
An old school bot lane.
Champion does incredibly well into melee-focused compositions. If you don't have a lot of burst on your team, Taric has one of the best ultimates in the game, but the timing has to be flawless.
I want to say it was an old school rogue bot lane. I think we saw it from Mad Lions
I remember
too.
The timing on the TP was good, but what I will say is the LPL have always been much better with Taric than any other region in the world, so it is a bold call to play it against an LPL team.
Are they thinking about taking the Sylas away from Caps? Yes, they will. The blind pick gonna come through. The ultimate's not the craziest. Of course, the Taric ulti steal away could be good, but the teamfight comp is what they've drafted. BLG 5v5, they have good side lane threat with the potential of the Sylas. I think Renekton versus Sylas in a side lane could largely go either way.
Is it?
Whether it's Ezreal or Zyre, I think both kind of fill the same role, providing a little bit more safety, self-sufficiency for Elk.
And BLG terrifying Ezreal.
All right, so Caps, what's the counter pick here? What are you thinking about as an answer to Sylas? Guys, don't get baited.
What is the call? You need magic damage. The
It's
Ryze.
gonna be Ryze. Okay. I mean, we held our breaths there because I felt like it was appropriate. But for anyone that's been a long-time Caps follower, Ryze is an old-school side lane comfort pick for him. Something that he uses to get that mid-prio and then roam to those sides. Quick utilization of the ultimate. G2 domestically were big fans of using the Ryze ultimate tempo plays as well to stack waves, get them to towers quicker. Split pushing is so powerful with Ryze that Caps and G2 are going to be leaning on that here in this game.
And these 5v5s are going to be insane. Neither composition has that crazy burst damage champion. It's going to be so much about sustain fights, perfect cooldown usage, finding a pick before you kick off to get any advantage you can. It is low range and it is scrappy. Ezreal is the only champion in this game who gets to take a step back from the absolute bloodbath we will be seeing on our screen.
I also think that the value of this Ryze is Sylas doesn't have great ults. Taric ult can definitely be good. Renekton ultimate, Xin Zhao ultimate, they all have their placements, but they're likely not going to be game defining in the same way that Caps had options in the previous game. We'll see how Knight is able to navigate. Xin on the Skarner, he was a menace in game one, but it all comes down to this. The year will end for one of these teams. A ticket to Paris in the quarterfinals for the other.
G2 and BLG take to the stage, crowd here in the Berlin studio. Alive with the sounds of G2 chants, but this time, you're right, Xin back onto a champion he had such an impact in on game one and also on. No longer on Renata duty. Yes, it's so good in the lane. Zhao's coming out as well. BLG fans not going to go quietly here.
Yeah, it's pretty divided in the studio between BLG and G2 fans. Obviously with a small advantage to the home crowd. But my goodness.
Oh, but look at Caps, BLG.
It's crazy to think how merciless this format is. Two of the champions of their respective regions.
Gone to the blink of an eye. Gone at a level 1. Knight hooks in. Yike can now try to follow. BrokenBlade trying to stack a bit of fury, but Mikyx and Hans are on the way in. Okay, I said bloodbath. I didn't expect it to start at level 1. Here we are, a bit of a fist fight.
Looks like we're not going to get a swap. Looks like standard lane matchups. Bin wants to be able to bully out BrokenBlade. The timing is good as well. They're going to force the pot out from Mikyx. So a health advantage in favor of the bot lane for BLG. It looks like no steal, no invade, nothing too crazy, just a bit of information. Yike going to be starting on his top side. Xin is going to be doing the exact same thing. So both junglers likely looking to play towards bot side, and that makes sense. Hansama on his Kalista, something that teams consistently respect Ban because of the comfort that he has on the champion.
You can see there when Rell is demounted, she has a slight range advantage over the Taric, which allows on to get the first auto off. But this is a tense matchup because in the all-in, Rell has so much more CC. But obviously Taric with a lot more sustain. Innate in the kit, the additional armor too.
Now the mid lane matchup is interesting because you can choose to run things like First Strike if you really want to be a bully, but he's going Phase Rush, and Phase Rush is super annoying for Sylas. Because basically it's so easy for Ryze to proc it, and Knight's just gonna get kited.
I'm sorry, we've been using exclusively like really melodramatic adjectives for like the entire lead up into this game, because obviously there's a lot of tense and hype, so when you said annoying, I was just very thrown off.
I mean, it's the most apt way to describe it.
Yeah, no, you're right, it's
Sylas.
completely correct.
He's going to be irritated. In the laning phase, he's doing perfectly fine for the early lane. Ryze can't really kill you. He doesn't have that kind of damage in the early game. So it's mainly just going to be a lot of trading back and forth. Notice that he's running Conqueror as well. Rather than going for the short bursts, he's expecting more of these longer drawn-out fights to be happening in a side lane as well, which does make a lot of sense when he anticipates going up against things like the Renekton and the Ryze later on.
Renekton, Ryze, the Xin, your electrocute probably isn't the difference between you finding that kill unless you get really fed, but Conqueror in an extended trade where you can get a lot of healing, a lot of additional damage, could make the difference. Level 2, of course, went in favor of BLG. That's why they have this initial push here.
Also, Taric just doesn't do much, right?
Yeah, level 3, a little bit better.
Yeah. But now junglers are making their way to bot lane. Xin has completed his full clear, and Yike is looking to do the same. Xin with a little bit of a faster one. He's going to be shadowing the bot lane as information is starting to be gathered. Scry's Bloom is going to be used. Again, looks like a reset's just going to come through from the Kalista. Doesn't want to overstay here. Knows that Xin is in the area, and instead will be making his way towards the top camp. But Mikyx saying, I don't need to back just yet. I'm going to be working with my jungler, maybe providing some cover for Caps, knowing that he's prone to a gank right now.
We'll have to see what the Taric initial item choice is. Obviously, you kind of want access to a tier early on, but Caps caught out here with Pierre, but now they're trying to turn the play. Nice stun fall from Mikyx, and down goes Knight. BLG in trouble. Shun trying to walk away. Exhaust coming in as well. They want to kill Shun. G2 a little over-eager. The flash from Mikyx. Forcing out the flash from Shun.
Honestly, I'm shocked that BLG tried to force that. They must have assumed that Mikyx had gone back to base, but Yike, like, where else is he going to go? There's no camp for him to take.
Yike caught out. Good initial burst damage coming in. On trying to find the lockup there. Yike ignited. Yike taking out. Shun running. Good response from BLG to even up the score.
Yeah, Caps didn't quite have the mana, and the TP from Knight meant that he was able to get to the play first. Mikyx couldn't quite get the connection down with his W, which means that the stun wasn't available to him. And so Shun this time reads the play well, knowing that Yike wants to get that top crab and is able to find a punish. Ends up just being a 1-for-1. The unfortunate news for BLG is that kill did go over to On. Ideally, would have given that to Shun. They're looking for another play in mid.
Caps level 4, the follow-up is there. I don't think Mikyx can save Caps. Caps about to get deleted. Trying to make it out of safety. Nice little bit of healing. Mikyx out of mana, and they will be able to walk away, but Caps, no TP, no flash. Knight ready to push this wave in.
The problem is Mikyx doesn't have the mana to help provide safety now for the mid lane, but Yike makes his way towards top. Look at BrokenBlade.
BrokenBlade going in, taking his time on the stun.
Trying to get the rage.
First dash going to connect. Again, waiting for the flash. Knockup should come in for Yike. Stun to follow for BrokenBlade. Again, Yike on the map where he needs to be to find the kills.
It may have looked like a misplay when BrokenBlade flash Q'd, but he did it so that he could start channeling the Q cooldown early while also trying to build up that rage ready for the extended CC on the W. So it allows him to get within range. He could then E, follow it with the E, and then they were able to find that kill. G2 with 2 on the board. Mikyx back to mid, providing that support for Caps. And look at the swap coming through from Hansama, getting ready for the grub spawning soon.
But On and Shun are here. G2 can't afford to get overconfident in the mid lane. We'll spot out the bit of vision. On and Shun waiting in the jungle. Do they have enough damage? Cap stacking that tier already. Of course, Ryze only going to get more powerful as the game goes on. Knight level 6, but the ultis he can steal aren't fantastic.
Caps is kind of bleeding a lot of XP because of the amount of time he's having to spend sharing it with other people. But that The ultimate gives him so much additional damage to his overall kit. Without that level 6, they don't feel confident enough to fight it. Kalista is here. Ezreal's on the way up, but it's 5 members of BLG on the top side of the map.
Too likely forced to concede this. Top wave was only even, and BrokenBlade was forced to go bot lane to catch the wave that was crashing. Better setup from BLG overall. Will result in them getting the first grub spawn. G2 moving down to the bottom side of the map to take the obligatory trade deal of the Drake.
It's a bit awkward though for BLG because they brought Elk up and they've kept Bin on the top side of the map, committing his TP as well, which means that this bot tower is now completely exposed. And look at the long way around Elk has to take. He's cautious of the fact that that bot jungle is completely dark, allowing BrokenBlade to extend his advantage even further. Yes, he's a little bit down in farm, but securing that plate along with the kill has given him a pretty good lead.
Certainly helps. Elk now here to cover. Yike taking a bit of time. Old Tunneler not giving you the most damage here. Hans slow. So we got Hans also taking over to level 6. Bin with his ultimate online hasn't really found a good chance to use it yet. Shun still a bit away, but does have an XP lead over Yike, so potentially a window of opportunity where he can leverage the level 6 that has just now come through.
Oh, they're looking maybe a play onto BrokenBlade here. Don't think they'll be able to find much though. He seems very safe on his level 4. BrokenBlade is level 7.
Also, Elk doesn't have any damage items, and Renekton has ult.
I mean, if you hit him enough, eventually he'll die, but...
I don't know if you've ever tried to 2v1 a Renekton with ult without damage, but
yeah.
it doesn't. It's a tricky proposition.
Now, you'll notice that Xin already ticked over to level 6. He has just been clearing his camps faster than Yike, who's been trying to look for players on the map.
Okay, BrokenBlade. Maybe over-eager for the 2v1.
I mean, he knows that he can catch this wave. He should feel pretty safe. Elk's priority is the farm, right? Yeah, nice little trade there from BrokenBlade using the Empowered Q to get a bit of health back. And also Bully, Bin going to drop the ultimate in the top wave to make sure he can catch this wave.
While BrokenBlade does have to be careful not to step too far forward. Deleting that wave further out, further away from the tower stops any potential dive coming in from the side of BLG.
But this is what the fans want, right? A very even early game, no one with a clear advantage either side. The gold down the middle is really not much of a discrepancy. And it's going to be setting us up nicely for the mid game as these first items come through, both sides looking for it. I think both teams spike pretty hard on one item. BrokenBlade now in danger.
BrokenBlade in trouble here. Trying to get away from the ultimate, does get caught out. Dominus is there, but the Ignite already ticking down from On. Should mean a quick kill pickup onto the Renekton. Shun gonna grab that one, maybe not ideal with BLG. Nice collapse on the side lane.
Yeah, misplay there from BrokenBlade. An easy collapse from BLG. There's not much that can be cross-mapped, and notice the Bin is respecting that, gonna choose to go back to base. That top tower gonna lose some plates. Caps was able to push mid in as well. With his ultimate, he would have been able to find a collapse on top, but nothing really gonna come off the back of it. So the good news for BrokenBlade is his death doesn't really cost so much outside of some vision on the top side of the map, which should give G2 easier access into the grubs later on. But the bad news for G2 is that they gave a kill over, and giving it over to Shun. That front line can be a very scary thing to do.
Definitely can be. Bit of vision placed in mid lane just to keep track of where Knight is. Caps catches this wave. Grub spawning in 1 minute. We'll see where both teams want to prioritize. As Caps roaming between lanes right now, does have his entire team to cover, but Knight does not have that information yet. G2 really ready to fist fight for this grub spawn.
They thinking about a realm warp play? They have the control wards. Looks like no. He's just going to go catch the wave. Grub's going to be spawning soon. Cap should be able to clear this one out. Yike just there to shadow. They've moved Hans Summer over to mid. Look how comfortable Caps clears out those waves. Level 9 secured for him.
And based on the fact that On is not moving up, it seems like BLG are just willing to concede the second set of grubs. They know no 4 buff will be given over. Not bad to trade at this point. Instead, may look to make a play on the bottom side.
They might just want to trade plates.
G2 though.
BrokenBlade isn't too scared about the dive just yet because they have information. They've spotted Jun out, so he should feel safe in the 2 versus 1. Ezreal just used the E as well to get away. I'm surprised G2 aren't just going for the grubs. They had numbers advantage on top side. BLG seemed willing to take the trades. But they end up collapsing onto mid, and as a result of that, Bin even gets a plate in top lane, pushes the wave underneath the tower. All that gold now lost.
And you can see now, as the waves are pushed in, Shun has license to start the objective. Mid prio, though, is there for the side of G2. But again, BLG only need a single grub. They get it. They don't need to stick around. Good window of opportunity leveraged by the side of BLG. That's all they really wanted. Didn't have to risk much to get it either.
Yeah, I mean, as you rightly said, I think BLG really got everything that they wanted here. 4 grubs secured. They're going to use that advantage to help secure the tower on the bot side of the map, and it will be the first tower of the game too. All this influx of gold.
That's a huge gold injection. It just jumped up to a 2K gold lead.
Yeah, and there's no cross map available either. G2 can get some plates for themselves, but we're still 2.5 minutes away from the tower plating actually falling.
Keep in mind, we've now got first item completions for both Xun and Knight. They should be much stronger in any of the fights.
Now, the good news is, if you want to look at it holistically, is a lot of that gold lead is sitting on.
Yeah.
He's got about a 900 gold lead over Mikyx, which in the context of the game doesn't really mean that much. The bad news for G2 fans are that this Ezreal has already completed the Trinity Force, the Rocket Belt finished as well for Knight. So these first item spikes are crucial given that the Dragon's spawning in 10 seconds. So I'm not sure if G2 should feel confident enough to actually fight this. The resets are coming through from the 2 carries. We'll see if they actually complete an item in time.
Thundered Sky is there. Caps does manage to get Archangels, but again, before it turns into Seraphs, really not the same immediate oomph.
And then the Kalista back also cancelled as he tries to catch the wave. So yeah, nice, honestly, good sequence of events from BLG. A moment of hesitancy there from G2. Rather than just committing to the grubs and playing for top tower, they moved back into mid wave, that then moved into bot river, and they just kind of wasted their tempo, allowing for BLG to both secure the bot tower and even get a grub for themselves. So well played by BLG.
Yep, good discipline from BLG. I think this is a situation where G2 are clearly fishing, hoping that
Ryze
creative angle. Ryze finding the angle. Bin now in trouble. Yike going over the wall. The Dazzle not going to connect, but the knock was there. Quick flash coming in from Caps. Bin's got nowhere to go. Side lane pick. Bin cannot get close enough to the wall to flash to safety. G2 find one in the side lane, but BLG looking to respond in the mid.
They commit very heavily to getting that kill on the Bin, and it will pay off.
Dazzle going to hit. Aftershock there for Mikyx.
Yeah, I don't think
want
they
to
can
overcommit.
really force this fight though. Kalista still doesn't have the first item finished. Xun, I don't think you'll be able to get much here. Renekton gonna go catch the bot wave as Knight finding himself more time in the side lane on bot. Gonna go match Caps now on the top side. Cosmic Drive likely gonna be the second item for Knight. Yeah, okay, so it's a small kill advantage for G2. The gold is only 500 apart, and honestly, if you kind of ignore the support difference, the only real advantage that we're seeing is Elk with a completed item over Kalista. Herald going to be spawning in 10 seconds. If Hans can get back to base and buy this item, it would be a point with which G2 could consider fighting. But it might be right what you said, that with the Archangels not fully stacked, maybe G2 is saying it's not worth the risk.
I think they're just too late. He is finally back. He does finally buy it, but the objective's already started.
I think you're right.
It's a situation where that minor difference of 200 or 300 gold doesn't seem like a lot, but when it's the difference of completing an item, puts you so far behind on the play, and good recognition from BLG, knowing they're stronger, knowing they have the items and the XP that they need to force this. Of course, Caps does have a small lead in the mid lane, but Ryze level 11, not that big of a deal, and you can see bot lane, as you so well highlighted, Vedi, only one of those little blue graphs matters, but the Elk one, always a bit concerning.
It's building up into a game that's going to come down to teamfights, Dracos. Right now, BLG, I would say, getting the better of G2 when it comes to the macro department. But in the mid game, BLG is not going to hesitate to fight you around these neutrals. Like Rumble, Rell, Sylas, these are champions that thrive in those sort of skirmish environments. And G2 are going to have to find ways to navigate around it. Maybe find a pick. A flank from Renekton is going to be crucial. G2's engage is very reliant on Xin Zhao ulti, maybe combined with the Taric ulti.
Yeah, Kalista as well, but you highlighted it, right? It's not nearly as simple or as straightforward. Requires a little bit of a bigger commitment than what BLG have to bring. And also BLG, again, Ezreal range advantage doesn't feel like too much right now. Probably gets mid-prio first in a lot of circumstances. But you can see that it's really tough for Han Sama to actually get on top of Elk. That is going to be a pretty big problem in the later fights if they cannot find a way to take Elk off the board. Their composition does not handle an Ezreal particularly well, unless Caps is zooming full speed with a phase rush, in which case maybe it's enough, but it's still difficult.
Tense affair. On, going to get stunned, but nice timing on the crash down means that he's going to be able to get away to safety. Pings on the top side river from both sides, largely around that ward that's sitting in that brush. Hans with the early prio, keeping eyes on the top laners as well. Both have TPs available. That bot tower, though, I mean, these outer towers for BLG, making it very difficult for G2 to really gain much control on the map. BrokenBlade taking a rough trade there with the Leandry's finish for Bin. He is just chunking down the HP of BrokenBlade.
Difficult 1v1 matchup, most certainly. The Dazzle doesn't connect. G2 really grouped around this top side, maybe hoping to find a pick. Not really a lot to play for on the map right now. Dragon set up the next big thing as Elk is able to find a good ulti. Nice bit of poke also allows him to contest the wave. Mikyx getting lower and lower. BLG again just chipping away these health bars. On a bit of an awkward start. Mikyx ignited, now trying to use the ultimate, and they're going to turn it back. He's invulnerable for 2.5 seconds. Good ulti coming in from Jun, and Elk still untouched for a moment. Realm Warp coming in as well. On going to be in trouble. Mikyx still standing. The healing coming through. BLG just the 1-for-1 so far. Yike now in trouble. He's burned everything he's got. Knight coming in, flashing from Yike. He wants to turn a TP coming in as well, but Knight stolen away the Xin Zhao ultimate. It's a double kill for Elk, and again, the Ezreal starting to take over, doing a bit more damage to the red buff there, but BrokenBlade coming in, the stride breaker. Is it enough to flash forward? One more on it, wants to finish the job. He'll get him a pin there to punish. It's an even fight thus far.
A crazy skirmish the Caps wasn't even involved in. The TP came through from both top laners to get down and dirty, but so many summoners burnt. I think that ended up being an even trade of 3 for 3. Caps were pushing this top wave. Bin will scare him off. But let's look back at how this one started. It's Mikyx taking a dangerous path to regroup with Yike. On sees an opportunity, misses the Q, connects the ultimate though. Q from Elk doesn't actually find purchase either. Mikyx with the re-engage knows that he has the ulti to stay alive. Jun buys time during the suppression, but then Han's ulti brings him back in. Now though they can look for the re-engage as Elk finds a nice Q onto Mikyx to equalize the trades. They then look for the re-engage, knowing that they're stronger. As you said, Yike burnt so much, but he goes back in, knowing that the TP is coming through. It looks good initially for BLG, but then this Sylas is just isolated as Jun is forced away, and so is Elk. BrokenBlade with a clutch play there to end up trading 1-for-1.
Tension, shouting behind the scenes. Incredibly close fights.
I mean, it is incredibly close.
But you see in the picture-in-picture, the game pace is so quick that even in a replay, we need to show you what's happening next. And right now, that's BLG with the first objective set up. And once again, Caps in a side lane, which thus far has been a good omen for G2, but it's not the same game that it was in Game 2. It's not the massive compositional difference that allows G2 to just split the map effortlessly.
But look at the gold at the bottom of your screen. I like what BLG is doing. They're punishing the fact that Caps is in the side lane on the top side. They should be able to secure this tower. Can they catch Hans?
On. Missing the Shattering Strike. Second charge. Will not connect. Caps now finishing the Cosmic Radiance, or excuse me, the Cosmic Drive.
But bear in mind, it is 2 out of towers for 1. The fact that BLG have secured that mid tower as well gives them that much more agency over the enemy side of the map, and they got the Dragon too. On should be fine in this situation, but it seems that G2 are willing to take these skirmishes, but they're prioritizing allowing Caps to scale up. And what's crucial is in that last fight, Hans got 2 kills. Elk got a double as well. But what was about a 500, 600 gold lead for Elk has now been equalized, where both AD carries are now within touching distance of each other. The Rage Blade going to be completed soon for Hans Summer. But crucially, look at Caps. Cosmic Drive now completed with the Merc Treads as well. BrokenBlade and Caps should be able to get this tower. And the only concern that you have for BLG is Caps is ramping up. He is nearly 2 full levels overnight. He's about 11.5 for the time being. They're going to TP to top lane. Oh, but that might have been too dangerous.
Leading the wave. Waiting for the ulti, catching out Caps, trying to burn him down into the tower. Archangel Shield is still there. He's running as fast as he can. Bin trying to finish the kill. He will be able to get it. Crucial from BLG, but now they're looking to turn on. Can he save his top laner? The answer is yes. Mikyx now on the chase as well. Knight in the 1v1 at the bottom screen. It's a split screen focus. Elk over the wall is going to be clutch. Cosmic Radiance coming, but it might come a little bit too late. G2 just have to run. BLG find the better play. Hansama's there just in time to watch them lose the exchange.
It's BLG that find the superior skirmish. Caps tries to go for too much. The TP into top lane as BLG was stacking there ready for the cross map, meaning that they have the numbers advantage. Elk also collapses before Hans is able to, and it ends up being another kill. They're going to secure the tower. They're going to find a kill advantage, and it's BLG that's going to get a small lead in the gold. But I say that, look at the mid lane. G2's looking to respond. They should be able to secure this.
Knight stepping up. Has to immediately back away as the mid lane tier 1 will fall.
It's still so close, Straykos. Both teams within 500 gold of one another. The items are pretty much similar across the board. Ezreal, though, spiking hard with the Muramana completed.
And this is that 2-item spike that everybody talks about with Ezreal, right? This is where those Qs hit like a truck. Hansama, if he can get in range against champs like the Skarner or the Rell, he'll shred through those health bars.
This Rumble too, man. Like, Riftmaker completed alongside the Liandry's. I'm assuming that BrokenBlade just hasn't based yet. He's got to be sitting on a lot of gold.
But you're right. I mean, it's tough. They have to perfectly on the side of Caps perfectly outspaced the flamethrower, the electro harpoons if he wants to win the 1v1 versus Bin. Gets easier as you get later in the game, but the equalizer. Again,
Caps is now 2 levels up on Knight, by the way. I mean, it's still about a level and a half, but he's doing some serious work.
Doing what he can.
Oh, no stacks just yet for BrokenBlade. I mean, that kill is the difference. Bin being able to get that shut down onto Caps really is what's giving him that item advantage for the time being.
Also, opted for the Oblivion Orb, slowed down some of those early spikes, but now it's going to feel really solid in a fight where there is just so much healing.
Caps going to catch that top wave, but he can't afford to overextend, knowing that his team doesn't have that much control over the map right now. Bot wave going to be contested as well. Look at Bin. Full information thanks to Knight, which means that he's just zoning BrokenBlade away from this farm. Level 14 for him. It was last year's Worlds where we really got to see the introduction of Bin's Rumble to the international stage. And I mean, he is a scary Rumble player, or he has become one.
And I think right now, if you're G2, you can see you're losing out mid lane priority, the range advantage that Ezreal has, the ulti he can use to just ensure that you're always getting those waves in first, is slowly choking out the map. Yes, Caps isolated in the side lane can still be that threat, but right now, the vision control from BLG is absolute. Yike. Not going to be forced to take the blast cone, but luckily spots BLG in time. Question is, can they really start the Baron at this stage of the game? Probably yes. With the Rumble on 2 items, he's going to do a lot of burn damage.
It is a scary affair. It's BLG playing with control for now. They get the top push, they get the mid push, and also whenever Bin is able to find BrokenBlade, he forces him out. So the map is quickly becoming over the TP flank.
TP coming in as well. Shun going to try to find the ultimate, but he does not connect on Caps. Crucially, TP response now coming in from BLG as they try to split the fight. On trying to turn the fight back. The equalizer is beautiful. The Cosmic Radiance. Will it come in time? The answer is yes. Mikyx buying 2.5 seconds for the team to try and turn this one back. Hansama and Caps untouched with the back line. A perfect dazzle to get things kicked off. Ulti coming in from Hansama as well, but BLG steal one back. Bin, can he burn them all? The answer is no. G2 finding the angle as Elk runs for his life. The Ezreal. Can it make the difference? He's still standing. Yike finding the 1v1 versus Shun. He should come out on top. Double blast cone makes it a little bit trickier. Will finish the job. He will get the jungler down, but Elk, can they afford to approach the last man standing on the side of BLG? G2 winning the fight. They'll take the Drake as Elk is shepherded back into G2 territory. How can he escape? Yike to follow the shutdown there for G2.
It's an ace. On is able to respawn in time, so it doesn't pop up, but that is 5 kills for G2. A massive teamfight win. They look for Elk. They're able to catch him off guard. He's forced to flash so quickly. Yike is able to connect the W. He goes in, and look at how low he's forced out. But this Rumble ultimate from Bin would have been massive if it weren't for Mikyx's ulti. We're back to life, Baron!
This fight, calling in the TPs at the very least, but G2 want to stay on the objective. They know the angle. They know Skarner has to approach them. It's not Hextech Rift. They can risk the 50-50. Tension growing. 5K getting lower. Yike now committing. Response coming in from Ultimate as he has to stop, but the dazzle is there. Yike taken out. They don't have a smite in the pit. Caps has to make the difference. BrokenBlade now coming into the backside of the fight. They cannot afford to take the objective, but they can try to find the kills. Bin turning, burning. Knight in the clutch, finding the sustaining needs, but BrokenBlade desperate to finish the job because Caps is still alive. Suppression there. 2v2. Solo lanes versus mid jungle. Ezreal on the way. G2 can't afford to extend the fight, but BrokenBlade wants a little bit more. Will it cost him the dominus? The healing coming in for Knight. Elk here to save the day. Caps running. BLG blinking health bars. Can they start the Baron? The answer is yes.
G2 tried to force a Baron. They tried to do it when Jun was dead, but that ambitious play may have cost them everything. It's only Caps left alive. With Elk now here, they can secure the Baron. A massive team fight win for BLG.
Knight.
He's going to deny the blast cone. There will be no steal. They're not going to wait for Bin to respawn, but that's a Baron for BLG. Why did G2 try to do that?
They thought they could turn. They trusted in the moment that they had what it takes, but you can see how much damage BLG are able to do.
Look at this Rumble ultimate. So the thing is, like, the Taric ultimate isn't available. So Yike goes in and then they just focus him down. He then drops before the Renekton is really in range. They take out on short. Mikyx's still tanking up the Baron, trying to keep it low. Knight is able to get out of the fight, but that Rumble ultimate was huge.
The Rumble ult, the Ezreal ult, the sheer amount of damage they do to Yike. He's just built HP. He doesn't have any MR. He gets shredded alive, and while BrokenBlade is desperate to get this back, he thinks maybe they can win the 2v2. It's Elk coming in the final moments that ensures there's really no avenue of attack left for G2 in the fight.
An over-ambitious play. BLG find a huge punish, and now they have the Baron. It's not over yet. The goal is still within touching distance, but the Zhonya's now completed for Knight. After what was a big advantage being built between the two mid laners, he now finds himself in a much stronger spot. 3 items for Rumble, 3 items for Elk. BLG is looking scary and online.
Definitely are. Again, the range discrepancy, Elk freely able to throw down this poke.
Look at the experience discrepancy. Bin's about to tick over to level 16. BrokenBlade still a ways from level 15.
I mean, look what he did with rank 2 equalizer, rank 3, even more damage. Realm Warp, G2 want to make the aggressive play. TP behind, but the perfect equalizer, slowing them down for now. Cosmic Radiance going in, Knight's in the midst of the entire team. He now goes golden, a perfect goal coming in from Sean. Elk untouched over the wall, they get the exhaust down at least, but G2 trying to fight back in the extended fight. Now in the midst of everything, it's Sean continuing to step up. Yike still standing, but he can't get in the mix. BrokenBlade trying to hold on, but BLG are just better, just more powerful as they knock down the tier 2 as G2 are sent back to their base.
G2 is overforcing. They use the ultimate there to try and catch Bin off guard, but another fantastic Rumble ultimate means that BLG win out on the fight. The suppression against the Taric ultimate to buy time means that an inhibitor is going to fall. G2 is quickly losing control of this whole game.
And you can see BLG ready to weather the storm of the G2 engages, knowing that the way things are going when they have the Baron buff, it's G2 who have to try and make the play. Credit to them again, another beautiful Rumble ultimate in the midst of that fight and that choke point. Yes, Taric ultimate comes down in time to mitigate some of that damage, but it's just so well played. Mikyx able to get the exhaust off in the last seconds to deny a bit of damage from Elk, but he's just untouched in all of these fights.
The situation is now dire for G2. Bin's Rumble is monstrous with the arm guard now completed as well. This Ezreal close to the 4th item. And the split push options that G2 have are quickly dwindling. Look at this Rumble ultimate from Bin. Right into the choke point, onto 3 members. Caps gets melted before he really has an opportunity to do anything. And then the suppression from Xun's ulti to buy out the duration of the Taric ulti. They think maybe we can get the re-engage, but the rest of BLG is there to support Knight. He ends up dropping at the expense of BrokenBlade's life, but that was enough. They unlock 2 towers. The bot inhibitor is gone.
They just can't afford to lose Caps in the start of those fights. He's so much of their damage. You could see Hans Sama throwing countless spears, but it's just not enough. Even with the Rend. Checking at the goal difference powered by AWS, a much closer game overall, but BLG on track to replicate the success they found. Caps, though, still with more threats on a side lane. This is not the same game as it was when it was the Orion Nocturne. More agency, more angles, but higher risk now. He may step too far as the Realm Warp if he does need to escape. Soul point going to be secured by the side of BLG, 5 minutes. So they're able to force a fight, and right now they've set up to take better control of the map. Again, so hard to match this Ezreal in the mid lane, the pressure he provides.
Elk is just so terrifying now. Ezreal is so difficult to lock down in the late game fights, and G2 in that previous fight around the blue buff found a way to get his flash. He had no cleanse. They were able to lock him down. And now how are they going to do that? BLG can just buy time. Baron respawns in about a minute and a half. Continue to control the top side of G2's jungle. Push out these sideways. Look, bot is passively going to push thanks to the super minions. Mid from Knight, top from Bin. BrokenBlade will tick over to 16 soon. A crucial level as you get the 3rd point in your ultimate.
G2 going to hold on if they can.
BLG should be able to secure this top tier 2 though.
Easy for them to just push this out, right? I think at this stage it's so hard for G2. BLG with control on the map. Again, if Taric goes in first, if the Taric team is going in first, they get to use Cosmic Radiance proactively. It feels so good. It's such a powerful ability. But you saw there that Bin is still getting down thousands of damage in a fight if they're forced to use it in response to a good equalizer.
I feel like it's just one of those things where once the Baron fell, G2 felt the pressure. And now they've calmed down. The problem is they have to deal with the consequences of their decision. Hans will complete the Wit's End, so he's definitely a scary threat on the side of G2 with the Death Cap finish for Caps as well, a big spike for him. Perhaps G2 can still find a good fight. The BLG will be in the better map state. 25 seconds till the Baron. Vision continues to be denied on the side of G2.
So much pressure now on G2, knowing that there's such a deficit. You can understand why they think that throwing that Hail Mary might be their only way out. despite how good this series has been. It's elimination or ascension. There's no in between. People will only remember the victor and the disappointment. Xun on the way in, good angle to start the fight. Caps locked up, Cosmic Radiance coming in a little bit sooner than expected from the side of BLG. Knight exhausted, but he has Xin Zhao ult to get it back. G2 starting off pretty well in the fight, but Elk is untouched, starting to stack up the passive hitting. Hanzama trying to find the stun angle, but they can't get it done. Knight in the midst of the entire team, falling up onto Mikyx. Is it enough? Bin and Elk untouched, the three carries at the core of BLG. Can they find the angle? G2 blinking Elk bars, but they still stay strong. Elk on the chase. Caps trying to make the difference, the ulti. Hanzama taking out Elk versus the world. Elk continuing to find the angles, the slower there, the double kill is there. Elk is a monster in that fight.
Elk is just too damn good. And we have a pause. I don't know why, but my goodness. A team fight that was initiated by BLG, turned around by G2, and then saved by Elk. This Ezreal, my goodness. It's a 3-for-3. BrokenBlade is alive, Caps is alive, Bin is alive, Elk is alive. When we get more info, we will share with you. But we don't have any right now.
In the meantime, take this lingering brief moment to breathe. There's more League of Legends coming.
Hopefully we can get a replay of the last fight as well, hopefully.
I mean, everything on the line for both of these teams, and you can tell in this game, the smallest differences, a Q connecting here, one ability missing there. And the mental game is so crucial now. Who can weather the pause? You're not allowed to speak. You have to sit in silence. You have to sit there knowing how you played that fight, whether it was incredible, whether it was terrible. That is going to sit with you in this moment, in this pause. League officials are investigating a report of a potential bug.
Okay.
We'll keep you updated as we know more. And we'll actually see what Shox thinks as we send it over to the AD.
I was asking for us to crosstalk with you guys. Hello.
Yeah.
How are you?
I was going to get some water.
We were going to take a break. Yeah, but
No. Well, what happens?
Well, the pause we're finding out. All I know is that Ezreal,
I know.
Ezreal hits like a truck.
Yeah.
That's completely succinct analysis. I don't have anything else to add. Elk seems pretty good at League of Legends.
He does. And
It's kind of weird that one of the best ADs is in this elimination match right now,
odd.
but here we are.
It's odd. I came here and I was like, Elk is about to destroy them, and
So
happens.
we have an ongoing debate. I'm curious what your thoughts are. At least I'll speak for me. I won't speak for Emily and Croxford. We don't know how long this pause is going to be. I feel like the G2 comp should outscale.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone can build Bruiser. They can eat the burst from anything that BLG throws at them.
How can you scale when you're all dead?
And then Shox
My
definitely
God.
disagrees with this.
Who kills the Ezreal is kind of the problem.
Yeah, that's kind of my question
Nobody
too.
kills the Ezreal.
Like, the Ryze is very scary, but all everyone else has to do is, like, meatball in. And if Elk is there, untouched, landing Qs,
We got to
It's
see
tough.
that fight again.
That's
That
what I would
fight
like.
was so incredibly close.
I think we're going to see it on World Feed in just a second, which is like the global one, so everybody
Okay.
gets to
Yeah,
take
yeah.
another look at it.
Nice.
League officials are investigating a report of a potential bug. Hanzama is the player who paused. So.
Okay.
Again, the fact that this final game between these two number 2 seeds
Oh, it's crazy.
is still this close, this deep. This is a
Number
Here we go,
really
here we
big
go.
thing.
Okay.
We need to
Okay,
watch this
good.
fight on repeat.
So initially it's winning for G2.
Oh, I thought this was a G2 win fight, especially
Yeah,
once
same
they
here.
caught and killed on.
So the Rumble ultimate doesn't do a lot, right? You have the ult from the Taric absorb
out.
so much
Yeah.
damage, and Yike splits the fight.
But
Rumble
then
does
they get
work.
trapped.
And Elk is pumping.
He's
Yeah.
positioning. He's arcane
But
shifting
then he lands
in.
everything. Like, he actually lands
yeah,
everything.
He's
Yeah.
aimbotting. It's crazy.
So I wonder if Hans thought he like had a Q go off before that Q hit him, that he maybe was going to try and
Yeah,
dodge.
maybe.
Who knows?
Like maybe his buttons, like, because he.
Regardless, though, I feel
can't
like
speculate about
it
the
was.
bug, yeah.
I think
Yeah, I
it was
want pro
pretty
view.
telegraphed. Like you could see as that fight played out, right? And you get the initial 2 kills, and we were just talking about this. How I feel like LPL teams, but BLG do really well in what I coined sequential play, which means they see the end of the fight as the fight begins. And they know despite losing those 2 members, their positioning of their AD carry, especially a fed Ezreal, and the way he can weave in and around in space is tremendously valuable. And that is what instills the fear of the angels in me.
And it's understandable. Actually, looking back at that fight, I really think that the time that is bought there by Bin and Knight both, even though like Bin ends up going very low, Knight ends up getting taken down, is to me the biggest difference maker. Because I feel like G2 uses those few seconds not to the fullest. Like one Ryze bounce and Elk just dies, right? Yeah. That's just the end of it.
And that like for when the casters ask like who gets on the Ezreal, it is the Ryze, right? Like that's who you're really looking at to try to.
I'm just watching Hans this whole fight.
Knight does buy a lot of time on the back line of this fight.
Hans, I think, does all right in this position still, but then they're all clumped up and low, right? So then Ezreal is just... All right, so we have an update. So league officials are investigating a report of a potential bug. Hans Sama is the player who paused as an update. The issue in question involves Hans Sama being able or
to press E?
Able to cast Rend.
Yeah, that's what I saw. So he had a ton of Rend stacks on Rumble.
Yeah, tournament officials are determining whether this was the result of a bug or normal gameplay, because if he does press it, Elk dies, right?
Well, no, it was the Rumble.
The
Rumble had like, it looked like
Rumble
8 spears during
Yeah.
stasis. And then maybe he pressed E while he was in stasis.
Maybe.
And would you, I actually don't even know, do you waste? Vedius is gone.
He's gone, he's drinking some water.
He can't help you.
I think you might waste it if you press it early.
Yeah.
I hate that there's a, I mean, I don't hate
That's great detail.
There should be a pause if something is awry, right? But this game was so great to watch as it was going. I feel so bad that we're out of it, and for the players as well. And Jat, you and I and us at the desk were just talking about how these are the series you live for in League of Legends esports. But this is it.
Like, even if everything goes from here as it was, like, that the game isn't over one way or another. Like, even if Elk lives there, because there
But he has 2 more kills.
No, I know that, but like there will be another fight. Like the game is not going to be decided unless there's a scenario which I guess could happen where Elk just keeps going from here.
I've seen that a few times.
I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying it's not going to happen.
Okay, you argue it for me, because G2 outscales, right? Emily?
In theory.
So, but even if they outscale,
but Ezreal outranges. That's the one
Ezreal outranges and is also scaling. So how do G2 play out the fight correctly if they get split by a Rumble ult every time?
They leverage their pressure on the map better, which I think they are good. Again, like if I'm looking at where these two teams are at their best, I do still think that G2 plays the map a lot better, like plays split map pressure better in those mid to late game situations than even like a BLG who looks at their like LPL best.
And it's also something that the Ryze even further augments because of the sideline pressure that you get to have with the ultimate.
And I think for BLG, it's about brute forcing, because I don't think they can match the Ryze on side lanes as much. So if they start objectives early or deep push mid lane and just go, that's their best chance. And that's literally how that last fight started. It was Rell running it down so that the fight would actually start. He needs to go in to die to get the Taric ult.
Yeah, and they covered it on cast, but also, forcing them to use Taric ult defensively instead of offensively, where they are setting up a potential pick onto Elk and taking him out early, or taking the Rumble out early before Rumble out before he can ult in a fight, for example, because that takes away their 2 major like damage dealers in a fight. Like, sure, Knight is going to get in and be able to do a lot, but eventually they'll be able to whittle him down.
Why do I have so much stake in this game? Because it's absolute cinema.
It's your team.
Oh, it's crazy.
Just knowing, take this with a huge grain of salt, knowing what I know about pauses.
Yes.
If they deem that a bug, like if they deem that Hans Sama was unable to cast E and that would have resulted in a Rumble kill, it's not like they go back and let him kill Rumble. They go back to a dead ball state. They go back to before the fight in the first place.
It would be a massive.
But do you think they win that fight in the beginning again?
I think the fight doesn't happen. The fight doesn't happen, which puts G2 in a good situation.
But even then, I think this is also a testament, which I imagine is also going to go through the head of the players. The fact that BLG is still able to fight their way out of these situations.
Is I mean, if it does go back to a dead ball state, then I think G2 says, you know what, we're not taking that fight.
Maybe. Or they change the way they play it.
Or
I was gonna say they've just played the map better. They like really send. They send Rumble, or not Rumble. Oh my gosh, they send Ryze to sides, and they spread BLG on the map.
I mean, I see it, Emily. I definitely do, because it's also the playstyle that G2 has historically been the most success. Not even historically, I mean in the context of this year, right? We know from them themselves that is the way they like to play the game. I just asked to Jet's point, like I feel like BLG know very well they can brute force. And I don't think you get the setup anymore that you need, especially not because you are pushing into them, right? They are pushing into your territory.
I think BLG has to kind of pull rabbits out of hats. Just with the way that, like, Knight has already done it a few times, to be honest. Like, he found insane angles in a fight before, eating over the wall to kill Sama.
That was insane.
Just, like, weaving it around BrokenBlade. And that's how they have got the Baron to get in this gold lead in the first place and have some item power spikes.
That Baron, though.
I'm watching this right here. I can't tell if they'd allow the players to talk or not, because that's always an interesting thing to me about pauses.
Yeah, I guess they can.
If the pause is long enough, sometimes they say you're allowed to speak. But if it's a short pause, they don't want anyone to pause for strategic reasons, so you kind of just have to sit with your thoughts, which is just fascinating to me at this moment.
That's
with
the
how much
worst
pressure's on both of these teams.
Yeah, it's like you're, oh my God, my brain cannot handle that. I think
there's the white noise spamming too.
I think we're checking because they are talking on stage. I think we're checking. I think they've been given the okay. They have been given the okay to do so. We are paused in the midst of our game as league officials investigate a report of a potential bug from Hansama, who alleges in a critical team fight he was unable to cast Rend. Tournament officials are reviewing the shadow play to determine whether this was the result of a bug or of normal gameplay. You would want to know, wouldn't you? And we're in the middle of a 9-game day possibly, but we'll take a look at everything that happened here before that. It was going good until it wasn't. For G2.
I'm trying to cast my mind back to the situation before this fight.
A lot happened.
Yeah, a lot has happened.
In this game. Like, this game has had a lot of twists and turns.
Come on, you
think, I was going to say, like, the big thing for me is in fights like this, again, where they are able to
get the
come
drop.
Across. Elk still lives, which is kind of insane.
It is kind of hard for G2 to force fights too, which is the awkward part. And that was one example where they absorbed the original engage and got the counter engage. This is the fight where I thought G2 was going to be able to take control of the game. Yike dies early, and specifically watch Knight, Sylas, top left of your screen, how he finds this E onto Hansama.
Yeah.
And we were debating whether an instant cleanse from Hans would have allowed him to dodge. Seeing it again, I think Knight might have just W'd him and still killed him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. If he had flash as well, we'll obviously be a
also
very
the Rumble split them really well.
Bin's Rumble has been, I don't know how many people know the kind of joke.
Tell us.
The
very few.
Lore. As we see, this is also, again, this is another fight that G2 initially took, and I thought they were going to win. The suppression coming out is really, really good here. And again, Knight is doing a good job in the fights that they do win of splitting these up. So he's diving the backline with the Sylas. Rumble, not something that Bin has been historically fond of playing.
All he has to do is draw a line.
He's normally not that outspoken, right? But he's
can I just say how much I love seeing Ryze and Pro play? Like those realm warps, it is fun. I don't know if I'll keep having fun if this game ends. There's a lot of lore in EU connected to Ryze and G2 mid laners.
I'm sorry, my head's down. I'm trying to look up Rend.
It's okay. We're still awaiting. You're
awaiting you're looking up like
I will say, okay, I see that players have taken bathroom breaks as well, which
I mean,
this is good for them, I guess, in long games like that. Oh, it's crazy, just the pressure. They can talk now, I mean, they can talk over it, and that's where it becomes so interesting, right? Because I feel like when you play a game like this where you go up against a composition that you weren't necessarily prepared to go up against, right? You are learning as you go. So every team fight that happens and every skirmish that happens as BLG, you are figuring out how to play this more correctly. And I feel like they're very close to solving the Rubik's Cube, because we see now what Knight realizes what he has to do to mark Hansama. We know that Bin, you can say whatever about the Rumble, but he knows how to split G2 up expertly so that Elk gets the space to arcade shift towards Hansama. It's, I mean, you're seeing, it's like poetry in motion, and I feel like once they've solved it, it's problematic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still pretty concerned about BLG in this, and for it to all come down to this, I think is just massive for this team again. Like, to take a step back and look at stake setting for this BLG lineup. Again, they fall short. They go out. They get Knight for this year, right? They're like, okay, we got this. This is our world's roster. And they, until this series, I would say, have not looked particularly strong.
If we have time, I'd love to watch the fight one more time.
Yeah, I think we have an update. It's being typed to me right now so that there's no...
If we can get back into game, please get us back into game. But here's the fight one more time. So here's Ren. The spears will last 4 seconds. If you have no spears nearby, you can't cast Ren. So what I'm going to be looking for here, I know he has a ton of spears in the Rumble at the time of stasis, which lasts 2.5 seconds. But is there enough window for the spears to run out? And then if he had no other spears in anyone, he would then be unable to cast it because he'd have no Rens on the map. So
there is a verdict.
Well, tell us the verdict while we're watching this.
So we have it in a pause as league officials received a report from Hansama, who was alleged he was unable to cast Ren in a critical team fight. But tournament officials have determined that there is no bug. The game will be resumed where we were. Go ahead, casters.
Yeah, so I'm watching right now. All the spears in the game are in bin. He stasis about half a second before there'd be any more spears. If Hans were to press E now, it should work. But if he didn't press E, then they wear off and he would be unable to cast it. So it really just depends when they check in the shadow.
Let's get back into game, chat. Let's get back into game.
Yeah, absolutely. Cut me off. We're in game.
All right.
I'm ready.
We're ready too.
We're ready.
Let's start
We're moments away.
Oh, we're not even ready yet.
We're in the position to be ready.
I saw the ready checks in game.
We saw ready checks in game. The fans are clearly ready. Get the energy back up. We are heading back into game momentarily here.
Jesus.
Who wins?
Jesus. Indeed. So Betty and I reviewed, and we're not going to have an opinion because that's up to the league officials.
Yep.
But we do, we'll just continue forward. Ready checks coming out.
I mean, so to give context to the state of the game, it's 18 kills to 18 kills. BLG have a 5k gold lead. I see the unpause happening right now. So as of this moment, BrokenBlade is alive, Caps is alive, Elk is alive, and Bin is alive.
And we're back!
And we're back. So everyone is pressing base. The bot wave is going to be caught by BrokenBlade. And yeah, we return to a neutral state. Now, G2 have just come off the back of, well, a teamfight equalizer. It was initiated by BLG. Elk was able to clean up the fight, and now G2 are going to go and catch these waves. On the bottom left of your screen, you'll notice the inhibitor timer, 10 seconds until that comes back up for G2. But now the QSS completed for Elk with no summoners available. Crucially, Caps' flash at the end of that fight was 5 seconds off cooldown. If he had it, he might have been able to kill Elk, but we're straight back into game, and it's a Baron.
Baron angle. They know Yike is dead for 5 more seconds. BLG just want to rush this one down. 4K advantage already. They're just going to be able to grab it. G2 have no response built on the back of that last team fight. Elk popping off, helping secure BLG, secure the Baron.
A commanding play from BLG to recognize the fact that Yike is still dead. They have that window and they can do enough damage to secure it. Soul Point going to be spawning in about 1 minute and 10 seconds. Caps was able to push out bot wave, got arm guard for himself. Xin just walking into the enemy jungle, feeling confident. BrokenBlade going to go catch that top wave. 18 levels, level 18s being picked up across the board. Multiple players. We're truly into the late game now.
We're really at the point of the game where a single team fight likely to decide it all. With BLG in such a dominant position, G2 winning probably buys them time, gives them a bit more space.
And look at that cooldown on Elk's Q. It doesn't have one.
It doesn't have one. If he hits something, it does not have one. And of course, we are still 40 seconds away.
I mean, G2 are just conceding the mid-wave. They're just conceding it. BLG pushing in.
Recall's now coming in.
It's
maybe a bit of a miscalculation here from the side of G2 as their side laners forced to return.
And they can go straight back and they can get the soul off the back of this too.
Inhibitor's gonna fall. TP behind though is going to be big. Will it be enough? Should not quite timing it correctly. BrokenBlade amidst the entire team, but he's just gonna get deleted. Trying to dash back to safety. Will be able to do it. But now BLG on the chase. BrokenBlade gives his entire life. The equalizer, he's got nowhere to go. The Realm Orb, is it gonna be enough? Cosmic Radiance, can they buy enough space? The answer is no. Caps, Mikyx running. 3 members left standing. BLG, one final push, looking to close it here, looking to go straight for the throat. They found the winning mid-team fight, and that might just decide it. Caps locked up the flashback to safety. Caps taken down. Hansama about to fall. Mikyx taken out as well. BLG knocking down the last of the LEC as they move on to the bracket stage.
All 4 LPL teams will qualify as BLG join their brothers in the quarterfinals. A single team fight off the back of a Baron was all it took. And just like that, the last hope of Europe is eliminated.
And that's enough from us here. Let's send it over to the analyst desk.
BLG does it. There was only a short reprieve for G2 in that pause, but the ship had already sailed. The gold lead was too high. The Ezreal was too fed, unfortunately. And BLG, they overcome all the hurdles. They had to fight back in that 2-2 bracket up against it. People had lost faith in them, Emily included.
Yes.
But BLG is not someone to be underestimated, and they should have won this best of 3, and they did.
I was just about to say, let the record show that I did not believe in them every step of the way, especially in this game. I actually really did think, as we see G2 taking their final bow, that they would not be able to execute on this, that G2 would be able to spread the map. I do think coming out of that pause into the team fight, recognizing they should immediately take Baron, was an incredibly good call. My brain was mush. I totally forgot what the actual game
You see
was,
Caps
so.
there, you see G2, of course, absolutely crushed. They do not get a chance to go back to Paris where they had unfinished business. And I think you start believing in a series like this, even if you are the underdog, that you can do it. And I think after game 2, they absolutely did. But you are up against some of the best competition in the world. BLG is a tournament favorite, a first seed from the LPL that you narrowly beat. And for me, that is going to be what I leave with from G2 at Worlds. It'll be you narrowly beat HLE, you narrowly beat BLG, and it is so soul-crushing that that last 10% couldn't come out after the 600+ days that you have worked towards it. I really feel for you, and I feel for myself.
Yeah, it's a really downer moment for G2 to lose, especially with the long delay into losing like 3 minutes later. I also do want to apologize for my analysis during the pause.
Oh, it's okay.
No,
we didn't start yet.
So the reason that he actually successfully rendered the Sylas, that's why he couldn't recast afterwards. He didn't kill anything to get the reset.
We weren't even back into.
And I also understand why. I also understand why Hans paused, because you would
Of
always
course,
pause.
Yeah,
it.
you always want to pause if you think a bug is
Guess
happening.
who the interview is? Who should it be?
Elk.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's either Elk or
Ezreal's out of
Min.
control.
Yeah, Ezreal was out of control. We'll get to it in just a second. It's just being set up now. Oh, it's coming, I think, and I'm not going to get tricked again. It is Lore, and she is standing by with the Ezreal Extraordinaire Elk, the ADC of the victorious BLG in the Verizon post-game interview.
BLG, the first seed of the LPL, advances to quarterfinals, and I have Elk and Wendy with me to talk about this crazy victory. But Elk, I had kind of a deja vu feeling from last year, exactly the same series, the same opponent, you winning the first game, them winning the second one, into you guys winning out the series. What was different this time?
那首先恭喜你们获得这场比赛的胜利，晋级到8强的争夺当中。但是其实我们有一种魔咒，有一种历史重演的感觉，因为在去年的瑞士轮，你们也是同样的对手，同样的舞台，你们1-0被对面追下1分，但是你们依旧凭借着顽强的韧劲，2-1拿下胜利，晋级到8强。但是你觉得今年有什么不同之处吗？
首先我觉得我们和G2其实还是 比较难过的吧，因为我们都是需要在生死局的时候去互相赢下对方，然后才能够晋级。然后我们和G2，因为我们在去年的时候，不管是 MSI 的淘汰赛还是世界赛的淘汰赛，好像都是碰到了G2吧。然后就是我想对他们说，你们可能不碰到我们的话，可能能够进8强吧。
To be honest, I really feel like it's a very sad story that we need to face against J2, and for both of us, it's a death match. It's a fight you can win or go home. So I feel really sad about this. And also, if I'm not wrong, like for the previous MSI and for the Worlds tournament, for the most important, like the qualification match, we have faced against G2 for so many times. And I feels like what I like to say maybe to G2, if you guys not have this show with against us, maybe you guys can qualify to the quarterfinals as well.
Appreciated words from the European fans, I assume here. Any comments on your Ezreal performance? That was phenomenal.
同时，有没有想要对自己 EZ 今天的表现说些什么的？可以说你今天的 EZ 的发挥太完美了。
我觉得第3局的发挥就是相较于正常吧，因为前期也是比较优势嘛，然后在整个阵容也是比较好发挥的。然后就是因为在前2局其实发挥的也不是特别的好，我觉得在最后1局能够赢下来，然后开瑞我觉得非常的开心。
I must say, maybe for the third game's Ezreal, I still feel it's kind of the normal level of an Ezreal because actually we have a very good composition build, like can give me a very good room to deal all the damage, and also we got a quite good early game lead, and also maybe for the first game and also second game, I got some mistakes here and there, didn't manage to showcase the highest level of performance on stage, but generally, yeah, decent performance.
That is scary for what's next. This performance was absolutely amazing. Last and final words here, Alex. Is there anything you want to share to your fans? Looking forward to you guys in quarterfinals as the favorites.
那最后一个问题，站在这个舞台之上，即将面对到后面更加强大的旅程，也想问一下，有没有想要对所有支持你们的粉丝朋友们说的呢？
虽然我们瑞士人，我觉得走到这里可能基本上所有的粉丝都可能没有想到吧，然后我们自己也没有想到。然后，我觉得不管怎么样，我们都是去了巴黎，然后去到了8强。其实不管对手是谁，我觉得我们都是能够打的。就像我们去年一样，我们只需要相信我们自己，然后最大的对手永远都是我们自己。
So maybe what I like to say to all the fans, maybe it's kind of like out of the expectation, maybe to all the fans looking back our stage journey, and also like for me, for BLG as well, it's kind of out of the expectation if we're looking back for the whole Swiss stage. But what I like to say as well is, anyways, we qualify to the quarterfinals. We are going to go to Paris, and we're going to just try our best to showcase the highest level of performance here for BLG. And I believe no matter what kind of opponents we're going to face off against, the strongest opponent is also ourselves as a BLG, so we really need to do a well preparation and try our best.
Looking forward to seeing you guys in Paris and in quarterfinals. Elk, Xie, thank you so much for the interview. Wendy, thank you so much for the translation. That's all for us here. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes for a rematch of the LCS Summer Finals. Team Liquid versus FlyQuest. Stay tuned.